Part two. Okay, so after the out of towner gets bitten in half, and the people in the store see this, everybody freaks out. So anyway, some time passes. They lock up the store. Time passes, and the people are putting like sandbags and stuff up by the front of the glass just to make sure nothing can get in. You know, after realizing the front of the store is pretty much made of glass. So, anyways, they do what they can to put some stuff up front, to keep something from getting outside. Well, later on, when it kind of like somewhat starts to get dark, these a huge it really looks like a big old horsefly, but like huge, lands on the window, scares this one guy. He's like, David, David. So you're yelling for David. I don't even know how they even made him the main ringleader of what to do. But anyways, he runs up and he sees it. He has a big old lantern flashlight, and so he starts putting it up towards the window, getting to look at this thing. Well, the light ends up attracting another one, and then a couple of other people decide to wave the flashlights up towards the front. Most bugs are attracted to light at night, but anyways, they put the flashing the light up towards the front, and more of them start to come. They're all covered on the glass. Well, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's this huge, I call it like some kind of turkey vulture bird looking thing, lands on the glass, kills one of the insects, and then multiple ones come in, and they're squawking and stuff. And so it gets to the point where it keeps hitting the glass, trying to eat the insects. Well, eventually the glass shatters, and the little insect flies going through the store trying to get away. Big birds come through, and they're just flying all over the place. People are screaming, running all over the place. Ah! And so some of the locals had decided we need to make weapons earlier on, so they made some homemade torches. And one of the guys, he makes a torch, ends up burning himself because he spills the gasoline, and he gets set on fire. They have to put him out, and he gets burned really bad. But a couple of people end up dying. One of the insects actually has a little stinger, and he kills one of the cashiers. She ends up dying in front of one of the military soldiers. And then this other guy, he gets attacked from behind by one of the big turkey birds, and he ends up dying. So eventually, David tracks one of them down, and he's beating one down really bad, kills it. Well, one of the birds that had got shot ends up finding his son in the middle of the aisle and was about to attack him. And then, the guy who was in the storeroom with David and the other local guys, his name was Ollie, he shoots the bird, kills it, and saves his son just in the nick of time. So this local woman named Mrs. I write her name down. Mrs. Carmody. She's the local, I guess you would say, religious buff. So she says all of this stuff happened, and it's the wrath of God. It's the wrath of God. And so after so many times of being attacked and people dying, a few of the people in the store start to believe, she said it would happen. She said it would happen. She said they would come. And so pretty much there's a divide in the store. You got some people that believe there's monsters out there, some people that don't really know what's going on, and then you got these other ones that are starting to believe her, that say it's the wrath of God because we've been doing horrible on earth, where this is payback, this is our punishment. So during all this, after all this just happened, David and Ollie, the guy who was in the storeroom with him earlier when the bad guy got killed, they go to the back of the store because the guy who got burned, they go to check on him. So he's in need of some medication. Well, there's a pharmacy in the same parking lot as the store. So they come up with this plan to go to the pharmacy and, get some drugs, some pain meds, or whatever, to try to hold him over until, hopefully somebody comes and rescues him. So David and a few other people decide to go. One of the soldiers ends up going, and the lady, Miss Carmody, tells them, she's like, don't go out there. It's death out there. You'll die, And they're like, we got to go do this. Otherwise, the man in the back will die. She's like, okay, well, you're not going to make it, So anyways, they go to the pharmacy. They get some drugs. Well, while they're in there, everybody's like, shh, quiet, make sure there's no, they don't make any noise because they don't know what's in the store. And then as they go further into the store, while some of the people are getting the pain meds and stuff, they notice a huge spider web, cobwebs all over in the store. And then one of the local guys finds the workers and pretty much customers strung up in the air, wrapped up, like cocooned. So obviously something did this. And we find out what it is. It was a big old spider. But there's not one, there's not two, there's multiple ones. And so, upon this, the military police officer, he actually was strung up against a wall, and he's all wrapped up too. So they were actually trying to rescue him down, get him down from there, but he was stuck. And then he says, I'm sorry. It's all our fault. It's all our fault. And then right as he says that, he's like, oh my God, I can feel him. Whatever spider wrapped him up built a nest inside of his body, and his body opens up, and there's hundreds of spiders that just spill out onto the floor, and everybody just starts panicking, and it's chaos after that. The bigger spiders show up, and they start shooting their web. Well, this isn't just normal webbing. The webbing is like acidic. And so if it touches you, best pray that it doesn't go on your arm or your leg like this one guy happened to him. It fell on his leg got pretty much just like it went all the way through to the bone. And they tried to save him. He lost too much blood. And the spiders are just coming out of the woodworks. The little ones are starting to hatch. The big ones are coming. They kill a couple of the big ones, stomp on some of the little ones. Ultimately, they're outnumbered. They have to leave. They run out of the store. They got the drugs, but lost some people in the process. They get back to the store, and they're screaming like, hey, let us in. They get inside, and they're like, what happened? And they end up saying like, so-and-so didn't make it, such and such didn't make it. And then David, he gets over to where his son's at, and he just passes out. So when David finally wakes up, he hears all this commotion going on. And people, it's like a group of people just yelling, right? So he wakes up, and he's like, well, how long was I out? They said, you were out for hours. And they said, in the meantime, while you was out for hours, Miss Carmody she done built the congregation. She got she probably got like 90% of the store believing her now, thinking that it's the wrath of God. That's why these creatures are here. And so now, in order to, make sure they survive, they probably have to do some kind of a sacrifice. Sacrifice somebody to the beasts, these insects or whatever these things are, in order to stay alive. So David ends up talking to one of the local soldiers because he actually had 2 other partners that were with him. Well, they weren't there. They were missing. So he went to go look for them. We'll come to find out his 2 fellow soldier buddies hung themselves because they couldn't handle it. They knew what was going on, but they were just trying to say nothing. So they hung themselves and left him, he's pretty much by himself. So David confronts him, and he's like, you knew what was going on. You guys did this. And he asking him, like, what was it? What was it, some kind of like, science experiment or whatever? Well, upon hearing this, one of the little hillbillies, he overheard it. He grabs the soldier, and he's like, it was them. It was their fault. They did it. They brought it down from the mountain. They're the ones that did it. And all hell breaks loose. And it's chaos. It's pandemonium. So Mrs. Carmody is pointing them out. And she's like, so you knew about this. You did it. He's like, it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. She's like, not my fault, huh? Not my fault. Sure. Well, you got to blame somebody. And he was the one on the base when it happened. So they asked him how it happened. So the military was trying to do some kind of experiment to see if whether or not they could tap into another dimension and see if like open a window. Well, they did that, and when they did that, they couldn't close it. So for however long it was open, that was long enough for these insects, creatures, or whatever to get out and then just pretty much invade the town. So that is what happened. That's what caused it. So then, of course, they're blaming the military soldier, and they're punching him, beating him down, and then ultimately the butcher, the store's butcher, ends up stabbing the young guy, kills him, and she's like, feed him to the beast, throw him out. They throw him outside, lock him outside of the store. And he's like, no, don't let me die. They don't let him in, and he starts walking. And actually, he just stands in front of the window. And then you see this big, huge creature. And he turns and looks at it. He sees it. Turns back around, and he's like, please, don't let... Snatches him up. He gets eaten. He's gone. He's done. Mrs. Carmody says, all right. We're okay now. The beast is happy for now. I'm like, oh, gosh. So David and some of the other people that are in the store realize their time is running out because all these so-called believers now, these followers of hers, you know, it's only a matter of time before they end up becoming another, I guess you would call it a sacrifice. So they come up with this plan. They're going to grab some stuff, make a little getaway bag, and then they're going to exit the store at dawn. So that's the plan. They wait till everybody goes to sleep and then wake up and leave in the first thing in the morning. Plan was good. And they go up to get the bag in the morning, and look who's there. The bag's not, as a matter of fact, the bag wasn't even there. Miss Carmody was there. She's like, where are you going? And he's like, hey, we don't want any trouble. We just want to, we're just trying to get out of here. And she's like, oh, really? You're stealing the food, huh? And I'm just like, wow, really? She ends up taking a little glass of milk, starts drinking it. And she's like, well, you can't leave, because, basically, we need to feed the beast so that we can survive. And he's like, what are you talking about? Well, we just need to leave. Just let us go. And then, you guys will be fine. So Miss Carmody decides she's going to try to sacrifice David's son, Billy, to the beast. And that doesn't go well at all. And ultimately, everybody literally is trying to snatch up the boy until Ollie, the other grocery worker, he ends up shooting Miss Ollie, shoots Mrs. Carmody, kills her, and then everybody else kind of like backs away because he's got a gun. And so they make it out of the store. A group of them get outside, and ultimately there's chaos because there's spiders that hop up on the cars and stuff while they're trying to actually get to David's car so they can get out of there. And the group pretty much kind of gets separated in the chaos. A couple of people end up dying. Ollie actually ends up getting snatched up by a huge monster. He gets eaten. And then everybody else is able to get a car. So it's David, his son, these two ladies, and then there's the guy that was yelling out John Lee at the beginning of the movie. They all make it into the car. So they make their way out of there, and they don't know what's ahead. So they're driving, and actually David decides to go back to his house and try to pick up his wife because she was still at the house. Well, they get to the house, and his wife, she's wrapped up, cocooned like Mr. Military Police Officer, and he knows that she's gone, she's dead, there's nothing they can do. So they keep driving, and eventually they run out of gas. And upon this, they actually see a huge creature just walking through. To me, it kind of almost looked like one of those like big, huge dinosaurs off of Jurassic Park. Um, but he ends up walking through, walking off, and David kind of looks around and he's like, well, you know, we tried. And so he pulls out the gun and he's like, look, he empties it out. There's 4 bullets. And he's like, well, if we have to, you know, we'll just, we'll figure it out when we need to. 4 bullets, 5 people. So they sit there for a while, and then they start hearing these like crazy sounds in the background. Well, to them, it sounds like it's the creatures coming their way. And so rather than, you know, suffer a horrible death, he decides to, you know, somebody's getting sacrificed pretty much. Someone's going to die. So in the movie, it pans out from the car, and you hear 4 shots. And then you go back inside, and Dave was the only one alive, and he's screaming and hollering. And he literally done killed everybody in there, and their son was alive. I don't know what order they got shot, but everybody got shot. And David's sitting there yelling and hollering, and he gets out of the car, and he's yelling, come on, bring it on, I'm ready. He's wanting to die next. Well, what comes through the mist? The military. Yep, the military come through the mist, and David was like looking, and he couldn't believe his eyes. And also too, coming through, military convoy coming through, and survivors. Some of them from the store, some of them that left the store are alive, and they got rescued, and they're heading to somewhere safe. And David is just like yelling, and he's hollering and screaming, and obviously because obviously he killed his son, and he killed these other people as well. So that was how the movie ended, and the ending was actually pretty controversial for anyone that's seen it, and then also what the reviews and ratings said. But ultimately, I thought it was a good movie. But you really would have to watch it for your own personal opinion. But anyways, answering the question, would I make it? Hell yeah, I'd make it. I'd make it. And the reason why is this. You didn't have to leave the store. You had everything in there, really. Yeah, the front of the store was made of glass, but you didn't necessarily have to leave. So some of the stuff that they did was not very smart, you know. Flashing the lights, that's how the glass got broken in the first place. They could have turned the lights off in the store, you know, so that way they could have been better hidden, because nothing actually got in the store until those insects and the big turkey bird broke through the glass. So ultimately, had that not, and even after that happened, nothing else got into the store. So really, you could have stayed there and been okay. Now the problem that would have been tricky would have been once Miss Carmody found out about the military's project, because that's when everybody was really divided, and by that time the followers had grown massively. So you would have been essentially outnumbered. You'd have been outnumbered, so you pretty much would have had to try to get out of the store. But ultimately, they got out of the store. They got out of the store. Got out of the store, got away. You ran out of gas. And rather than wait, I don't know, man. I probably would have waited until I seen some creatures before even thinking about, you know, offing myself. But I would have made it. I would have survived. I would have just waited until the very bitter end, you know. And even then, I'm going down. I'm going down swinging. So you know. Now, granted, he had his son with him, so you know, push come to shove, if you had to do something. I don't know if I could have done that though. I don't know if I could have done that, because hell, I would have ran. We could have ran. Like, why stay in the car? You know. But anyways, I would have survived. I would have made it. And so I was interested to know if you would have made it. What would you have done? What would your strategy have been? So anyways, hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget, comment, subscribe. Until the next video, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Peace.